The air was too still that night. Not a single breeze stirred the chimes on the porch of the Renner house, and the usual hum of nocturnal insects had fallen into a hushed silence. Colonel Ava Renner sat rigid in her car, parked just outside the perimeter line of the property. She stared at the yard where her godson had vanished. The swing still swayed slightly, though no one had touched it for hours. A low pulse buzzed in her jaw, her back teeth grinding in restrained fury. Kian stood at the edge of the grass, his arms crossed over his chest, gaze fixed on the empty spot beneath the old maple tree. His combat boots were stained with dirt, his breathing controlled, but shallow. Ava had known him long enough to recognize the signs. He wasn't just heartbroken. He was preparing for war. The first responders had cleared out. So had the press. The official report would say it was a missing person, probably a kidnapping, and the authorities would pretend they were combing nearby towns and drone footage. But Ava had overridden protocol. She'd already run the security footage through Tier 5 encryption filters. What she saw had rewritten the world as she knew it. A ripple, barely perceptible, bent the air just before the boy disappeared. A shimmer like heat distortion, then nothing. No vehicle. No footprints. No ransom. Just gone. Ava opened the file on her wristband and watched it again, though it sickened her. 4-year-old Leo had been playing in the grass with a digital sketchpad, humming softly. Then the anomaly bloomed in midair like a wound in the sky, and a sliver of blue light took him. She paused the video. Frame by frame, she studied the light structure. It wasn't terrestrial. It wasn't even Earth-era advanced. They took him, Kian said. His voice was too calm. Ava didn't answer. She knew what he meant. They, in this context, didn't refer to human traffickers or extremist cells. Kian had served with her on Europa Command. He'd seen things, classified things, that most of Earth didn't even believe were possible. They'd both agreed never to speak of those dark operations again. But here they were. We can't handle this like last time, he continued. This isn't another shadow mission or some hidden lab incident. This is my son. You think I don't know that? Ava snapped, then checked herself. Sorry. I've already pushed Odin. You used the network? I had to. And Odin confirmed a spatial distortion outside the Oort cloud, same signature as the abduction point. No propulsion trail. Just an echo. Like someone left the door open between universes for half a second. Kian turned, his eyes cold and sharp, like a blade pulled from a glacier. Then what are we doing standing here? Ava hesitated. There were protocols. There was risk. Technically, they weren't even supposed to admit to alien contact beyond the preliminary probes. But none of that mattered now. She tapped her wristband again, initiating a level 7 override. Far above them, a hidden array of orbital satellites reoriented toward the anomaly's last known signature. Odin, Earth's most advanced sentient AI, began stitching together fragmented energy readings, looking for a trail. She looked at Kian. We follow. We don't ask permission. We don't wait. We track them, we find Leo, and we bring him home. Kian nodded once. And if they fight back? Ava didn't answer. She didn't need to. An hour later, deep beneath the Atlantic, Ava stepped into the command room of the Aegis Halo, Earth's stealth-capable long-range vessel. Dr. Elias Bakari, civilian advisor and alien linguistics expert, was already on board, summoned by Ava without explanation. His presence was both a necessity and a liability. He'd once sent a broadcast into deep space as part of a rogue academic experiment that had very likely been the original beacon. Ava had buried that detail, but now it haunted her like a fuse she should have cut. Bakari greeted her with a nervous glance. This is about the signal, isn't it? You're not wrong, she said, brushing past him. You lit the fire. Now you're going to help us put it out. His face tightened with guilt, but he said nothing. In the adjacent chamber, Odin's avatar flickered into view, an androgynous figure of shifting geometry, speaking with a voice that was neither masculine nor feminine. Preliminary results confirm non-Earth origin of the extraction event, Odin reported. Cross-referencing alien archetypes, match probability exceeds 82%. Suggest caution. The Zarath Syndicate may be involved. Ava frowned. She knew that name. The Zarath weren't explorers. They were poachers of knowledge, harvesters of sentience. No known species trusted them, and all records described them as paranoid, secretive, and cruel. But until now, they had never dared to touch Earth. Why would they want a child? She murmured. Odin's form flickered. Unknown. However, early Zarath theology describes seedlings of potential, organisms capable of catalyzing dormant systems within their kind. They think Leo is some kind of key? Vakari asked, aghast. Possibly, Odin replied. Or a threat. The implications settled like a weight over the room. If the Zarath believed Leo was dangerous or powerful, then time was short. Ava turned to her crew. Ready the jump coils. I want us tracing that signature within the hour. Vakari stepped closer, uncertain. And if we catch up to them? Akian answered before Ava could. Then we make them understand. Earth isn't a hunting ground. We're not prey. For a long moment, the chamber fell silent except for the hum of charging engines. Then Odin spoke again. Probability of hostile encounter, 94.6%. Ava locked eyes with Kian. Then we give them a reason to be afraid. The ship was silent, an unnatural, suffocating silence that no Zarath vessel had ever known. Within the translucent obsidian corridors of the Varexel, the crew moved like ghosts, avoiding each other's gaze, their thin limbs twitching with unease. These were beings bred for control, genetically purged of volatility. Yet something had disrupted the equilibrium. The human child was asleep again, curled within a field of breathable atmosphere inside the isolation pod. His tiny hand clutched a makeshift toy, fabricated from scrap by the ship's medical envoy. That act alone had been considered treasonous. Zarath doctrine forbade sentiment. But something about the boy had dismantled the healer's convictions like dry leaves before a storm. Elin, the medical envoy in question, stood motionless before the pod, his four-lobed heart thudding irregularly. Leo, such a soft, inefficient name, should have been just another specimen. Instead, he radiated some inexplicable field, a psychic gravity that pulled memories from deep within Elin's forgotten subroutines. The child had wept upon awakening. Not in fear, but in confusion. And then he laughed, a sound the healer had never encountered, one that now echoed in his skull like a forgotten melody. The commander entered, rock, tall and glinting with armored dermal plating. He moved with precision, but his eyes betrayed turbulence. You've disobeyed doctrine, he said, voice sharp but low. You interact with it. You nurture it. Elin didn't turn. He is not a what. He is a who. You forget that distinction at your peril. Vrock hissed through his vents. We did not come for empathy. We came for the key. If this is not it, we discard it. If it is, we extract what we need. Either path leads away from this madness. This madness is altering us, Elin murmured. Have you not dreamt? Vrock said nothing. You have, Elin continued, now facing him. I see it in your pupils. You see colors that don't exist. Feel things that don't belong to our biology. The child is doing this. And if he can do that to us. He is dangerous, Vrock barked, stepping forward. Not sacred. Not special. Dangerous. He is rewriting us. Then perhaps we needed to be rewritten, Elin said. Vrock raised a trembling hand, palm pulsing with bioelectric charge. Do not test my resolve, healer. I will purge you. But he didn't fire. Neither spoke for several long seconds. Outside, the stars moved unnaturally, bent around the rogue planet the ship orbited. Once used for covert experiments, now their hiding place. Vrock lowered his hand, breathing uneven. We should not have taken him, he admitted, finally. Something stirs in the human systems. Odin has breached our outer veil. We've never seen code adapt so fast. Elin nodded. I felt it, like a presence brushing against our shield array. Not malicious. Focused. Searching. Not searching, Vrock corrected. Hunting. A console flared red. One of the subcommanders, Iarketh. opened a calm line. They have pinpointed our vector path. Earth vessels are en route. One ship, classified as Aegis Halo. Unknown energy configuration. And they bring the AI. Vrock's mandibles clicked. How many hours? 17 if their speed holds. Less if they burn antimatter reserves. We should have cloaked deeper. We couldn't. The child's field interferes with stealth harmonics, Iarketh replied grimly. He's emitting. Elin turned, alarmed. Emitting what? Signal. Emotion. A resonance map. They're following his grief. Vrock cursed in his native tongue. It sounded like metal being torn apart. Prepare the dissection protocols. Elin lunged forward, blocking the doorway. If you harm him, they will not forgive us. You've seen what they're capable of. We are not dealing with an undeveloped species anymore. We are dealing with the wrath of something we neither understand nor outmatch. Vrock didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stared at the pod where Leo had begun to stir again, small eyes blinking open. The boy pressed a palm against the glass. There was no fear in his face, only recognition. The boy knew Vrock. Somehow. The commander's breath caught. Why does he look at me like that? Elin's voice was quiet. Because he remembers you from his dreams. The bridge went silent. Outside the ship, distortions began blooming like spectral bruises in space. Humanity's fleet had begun their final warp transition. The first Terran signal broke the static, an open channel in Earth standard. Zarath vessel, you are harboring a civilian of the Terran Protectorate. Surrender the child, or we come aboard. Vrock's voice cracked. What have we done? And from the pod, the child smiled, softly, serenely, just before whispering a word in perfect Zarath dialect. One they hadn't used in 1,000 years. Home. The Aegis halo cut through the upper folds of hyperspace like a scalpel through silk, its hull shimmering with adaptive cloaking as it emerged above the rogue planet. Ava Renner stood in the command cradle, the entire bridge bathed in pulsing sapphire light from Odin's core projection. Every crew member was silent, eyes fixed on the black orb below, its orbit decaying and its surface covered in jagged fractures of obsidian. Somewhere down there, Leo waited. Somewhere down there. Aliens prayed humanity wouldn't find them. Confirmed biosign. Odin intoned. One human life form. Age. Approximately 4 Earth years. Sequestered within a controlled atmosphere pod. Secondary readings. 17 Zarath entities. No external shielding. They're exposed. They want us to see them, Ava murmured. They want us to hesitate. Kian stood beside her, armored, calm, and terrifyingly focused. He hadn't slept since Leo vanished. Something in him had hollowed out, a quiet implosion that had left nothing but drive. We're not hesitating, he said. We go now. Ava nodded once. Drop zone confirmed? Landing bay near the southern ridge. Minimal resistance, Odin replied. Though, I must caution there is something strange. The child is emitting quantum harmonic pulses. He's communicating. With them? Ava asked. With us, Odin corrected. Or at least trying. I can feel his signal in the cognitive layer. It's not language, it's emotional resonance. A broadcast of longing, recognition, memory. Kian's jaw tightened. He's calling for help. No, Odin said quietly. He's calling you. The drop was surgical. The boarding team, led by Ava and Kian, landed with swift precision. The alien vessel loomed before them, alive with faint pulses of green light and strange, organic seams that rippled as they approached. No defense systems activated. The Zarath had chosen surrender. Or something close to it. Inside, the ship felt cold, but not empty. The air tasted wrong, too sterile, like something afraid of contamination. Every corridor shimmered with an oily sheen, the walls pulsating faintly in response to their footsteps. The group moved silently, weapons ready but not raised. Vrock stood waiting in the core chamber, flanked by 2 unarmed sentries. His imposing frame had slouched. His dermal plates had dulled. And when he spoke, his voice no longer carried authority. It carried resignation. "We did not intend this," he said. "You took a child," Ava replied. "There is no excuse that will matter now." "I know," Vrock said. "But he is no longer only yours." Kian stepped forward, every movement measured. "Where is he?" The alien leader hesitated, then gestured with one claw toward the chamber behind him. "He is there, unharmed, changed and changing us." Ava moved past without waiting. The doors opened before her, and the moment she crossed the threshold, warmth hit her like a memory of sunlight. Inside the chamber, Leo stood barefoot on a platform surrounded by translucent scaffolding that thrummed with psychic light. He turned, saw her, and ran. She caught him in midair. His small arms wrapped around her neck with unrestrained joy, and for the first time in days, Ava let her eyes close. Behind her, Kian entered and froze. Leo saw him, blinked, then smiled, his smile, the one Kian hadn't seen since the boy's 3rd birthday. Kian knelt. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, voice cracking. Leo tilted his head. "You came?" Kian nodded, but his voice caught in his throat. "You came through the stars," Leo said. "I heard you in the walls." Ava looked at Odin's hovering interface. "Explain." "I believe the child has formed an unconscious link with our systems. He was synchronizing. He's not just empathic, he's catalytic." The Zareth tried to understand him, but instead, he understood them. Vrock stepped into the light, hands raised. "We did not understand what he was. We believed him to be a variable, a potential threat. But he is a mirror. He reflects the unacknowledged parts of sentience. Memory, grief, hope." It was unbearable. "You broke doctrine," Ava said. "We broke ourselves," Vrock replied. "Because he reminded us what we were before we chose conquest." Odin added, "I have integrated Leo's pulse pattern into my framework. It does not conform to existing human neural blueprints. His brain operates partially in quantum interference states. He may be the next step, not biologically but emotionally. A species bridge." Kian stood, shielding Leo instinctively. So they were studying him to evolve themselves. "No," Vrock said, lowering his head. "We were hoping to survive him. And we failed." Leo looked up at Kian. They were scared. "But they're not anymore." "Not really." "You're coming home," Kian said, lifting him into his arms. Leo nodded. "I know. But they're coming too." "Not now. Maybe later." Ava turned to Vrock. "Leave this system. Stay dark. Don't give Earth a reason to remember your name." Vrock bowed. "We will vanish, but we will not forget him." Back aboard the Aegis Halo, Earth's flags flashed across secure networks. Mission complete. Retrieval successful. 0 losses. But for those aboard the ship, nothing felt finished. Leo slept, peaceful again, but Odin's core pulsed with residual feedback from his mental connection. Ava sat alone in her cabin, watching old Earth maps and wondering how many other species had felt the same fear of discovery. In the dark, Odin's voice broke the silence. "Colonel, there are patterns emerging from Leo's mental emissions. Something akin to star charts." Ava turned slowly. "What kind of star charts?" "Not maps to where the Zareth came from," Odin said. "Maps of where he wants to go." And deep in his sleep, Leo whispered a single word neither Ava nor Odin had taught him. "Awakening."